I was really surprised at just how much lifestyle can affect your fertility health. It's food, it's your job, it's everything, even down to laundry detergent and deodorants and stuff like that. We both want to be parents more than anything in the world.
Welcome to Her Fertility, the podcast revolutionizing the way women are supported on their fertility journey. I'm your host, Jess Tims. With years of supporting women as a fertility doula, I've seen the emotional pain caused by infertility, including my own struggle with unexplained infertility. And I always knew there had to be a better way to support women with their fertility health and healing. This is the first podcast to combine the principles of spirituality and energy healing with the research-based fertility data to support you in a way you've never seen before. You can stop feeling alone, confused, frustrated, and overwhelmed, and start finding the answers you've been looking for, because this podcast goes so much deeper than anything you can search for online. If you're ready to find a new spiritual perspective for your fertility journey, then press play. We are here to reclaim control, find clarity, and transform the fertility conversation. In this Fertility Foundations episode, we are going to dive into his fertility and talk all about sperm health, and male fertility health. My goal for you in this episode is for you to walk away with a general understanding of male fertility health, what a sperm analysis includes and what it means, and ways that you can improve male fertility health if you need to. And this is a super important topic and one that is largely missing in the fertility conversation. We, of course, talk a lot about female fertility, and there's a lot to talk about there. And we will continue to talk about that on the Her Fertility Podcast. But it doesn't mean that we have to ignore the male fertility side. It takes two to make a baby, and research shows that male fertility accounts for 40 to 50% of the equation when it comes to couples that have infertility. 1 in 6 couples worldwide are experiencing infertility. We have to talk about the male side of things. And this is going to start a little bit of a series on male fertility here on the Her Fertility Podcast. So stay tuned for some new episodes coming out super soon that are very exciting. Let's lay the groundwork. You might have seen some headlines that we have a sperm problem. Sperm has dropped. So the sperm count has dropped 50% in the last 40 years. That means 40 years ago, our dads had more sperm than we have now. Some researchers predict that the sperm count is going to drop to 0 within our lifetime. And we've seen this as a growing concern worldwide. And so it's really important to shed some light. And I have heard from members in the Fertility Jess community on Instagram that the male fertility conversation is just sorely lacking. And so I hope to bring some light to that today. So what's impacting sperm? Sperm is actually pretty sensitive. Sperm are impacted by a wide range of environmental factors. First is age. One of the biggest factors with fertility in general is that we are having families later in life now. And that's not a problem necessarily. We are doing a lot of other wonderful world-impacting work first, but we can't ignore our fertility, and we can't ignore that age is impacting our fertility. And what that causes us to need to think about is family planning for the future. Things like sperm freezing and egg freezing, optimizing our fertility health while we are young so that when we are ready to have kids in the future, our fertility health is optimized, rather than not paying attention to our fertility in our 20s and 30s and then going to have children later in our late 30s and 40s and then waking up to this knowledge and idea that, oh, I should have been doing things differently about 10 years ago. So let's talk about what that is. Beyond your age, Sperm is impacted by our environment, and this is a growing worldwide problem. When we talk about environment, there's a lot of things here, but the way that we are treating the earth is the way that we are treating our bodies. And this can feel like a really overwhelming topic because it is. We have microplastics in almost all of our things that we are consuming and putting into our bodies. This is not just about, switching from plastic to glass or metal containers. This is about our oceans and our seafood now being impacted by microplastics. I saw a headline the other day that 95% of seafood tested positive for microplastics. And while, of course, we want to add more salmon into our diet to promote our fertility health, we now have this growing concern that that salmon might be contaminated or might not be the best quality for our bodies, right? Because that is an actual concern. So, not to overwhelm you, however, we have to acknowledge that our environment in which we are living is creating a toxic environment for our sperm health. It's not just about plastic. It's our air quality. It's our water quality. It's the food that we're putting in our body. It's also, the electromagnetics that are all around us all the time, which is important to note because heat is also impacting your sperm. Knowing where your phone is. Is your phone in your pocket close to sperm? Is your laptop sitting on your lap when you're working close to sperm? Are you using the sauna or the jacuzzi regularly? Those have a direct impact on your sperm health because sperm are sensitive to heat. And then another big bucket thing that's impacting your sperm health is stress. So whether it's actual or perceived stress, the body responds the same. And it's not to say that we can eliminate all stress in our lives, but we do have to find ways to manage stress. When I work with clients, we are often trying to find a way for them to pop out of their sympathetic, which is their fight or flight, and pop into their parasympathetic, which is their rest and digest, as often as possible throughout the day. We don't have a button for this, right? There's no switch that we can just switch on and off when we're going throughout the day. And often we don't know that we're operating from our fight and flight, but we are. Even scrolling on social media will activate your fight and flight because the brain doesn't know what's happening next on the scroll and it's trying to anticipate what's coming. And it is in a heightened alert. Even though you're like, I'm just relaxing, scrolling on my phone, you're actually igniting. We have to find ways to support our body and pull us out and back into the parasympathetic so that we can remind our body that it's safe and it's okay and it's not stressed. And all that really is required here is a disciplined protocol. Whatever works best for you, whether that's meditation, breath work, yoga, whatever it is, you have to dedicate to that because your body isn't going to do it on its own. You have to help it out. All of this is highlighting the need to know where your sperm health is, the need to test your sperm. In couples that I work, one of the very first questions I will ask is, have you had your sperm tested? When was your last sperm analysis? Because it is half of the equation. We have to know what you're working with. And oftentimes it is not something that is considered first. We test the woman first, but we should be equally testing male fertility as well. And the process to do so is very painless and easy. And so when you go for a sperm analysis, and there's a lot of different ways you can get a sperm analysis, but essentially you give a sample of sperm, and what they're going to test for are three main buckets. One, they want to know your sperm count. You'll get that result back. How many sperm are in the sample? You'll also get the morphology report, which essentially means the shape of the sperm. Sperm can morph into all kinds of different varieties. Some don't have the tail, some have two heads. We're looking for that classic sperm shape when we look at sperm, but it can morph into all kinds of different varieties. And you need strong, healthy sperm to implant and get past the barrier of the egg because the egg is the strongest cell in the female body, and it takes a really strong sperm to conceive. So we want to make sure that the morphology is looking great. The other thing they'll measure is motility. So how fast do the sperm move? Are they moving? And how fast are they moving is what motility means. So those are the 3 indicators that you'll see in the results. Sperm analyses can go even more detailed if you're looking into genetic factors, but your general sperm analysis is going to include these 3 factors. If you are thinking about having a family in the future, I encourage you to get a sperm analysis, whether you do an at-home kit or go into a clinic. Getting those results can be very empowering because you'll have the data and you'll know what you're working with. It's your body's information, and I really believe that you should have that. Now, if you are trying to get pregnant and the results come back suboptimally, meaning there's room for improvement, there are a lot of things you can do to improve sperm health. Just like there are things you can do to improve egg quality, which is really encouraging. Now, it is really important to remember that it takes time. You want to give yourself at least 3 months time to see improvement in the sperm quality, and then you'll want to test again. So you'll have your test, dedicate 3 months to making some improvements, and then test again to see the results. I've worked with many couples and we've seen sperm improvements. So it is a testament that this can work. If you're like, well, what can I do? Some big buckets, of course, are lifestyle and controlling as much as you can about your environment. So evaluate your home and your office for those environmental toxins, for things like poor air quality, poor water quality, plastics. You want to eliminate as much as you can because they are impacting your sperm health. And focus nutritionally on giving your body what it needs. I don't know why, but it really feels like the men that I've had the pleasure of working with get away with eating really crappy. And then I come along and I'm like, hey, we really need to change that up. So I'm talking about really focusing on nutrient-dense foods, your leafy greens and your high-quality fats like avocados and olive oils, being aware of the quality meat that you're eating if you eat meat, and pulling away from those packaged, processed fast foods. They are not doing much for your body. They're actually damaging your sperm. This can be a really big curve for some men, and I acknowledge that. I also will say it's worth it. It's worth making the change. 1, you're going to feel way better, but 2, it's going to help your sperm. Beyond that, smoking, drinking, smoking anything. So whether you're vaping, smoking tobacco, or smoking cannabis, all have been research shown to have a negative impact on your sperm. So the best thing is to just stop, but definitely limit your use. Caffeine definitely has an impact. Caffeine has more of an impact on the overall hormone health in the body because it plays a role with your cortisol, which is a hormone. But I like to think of hormones as a symphony in the body. And if one instrument or one hormone is off, the whole symphony sounds off. So it's important to look at your caffeine as well. And then take a really hard look at your supplements and your medications. There is a lot of research to support medications, whether they be over the counter or prescribed, can have a negative impact on your sperm health. So if you are on a medication, talk to your doctor about its impact on your fertility. Maybe there's an alternative you can switch to. And then searching for and looking to use a more holistic based remedy rather than an over-the-counter medication. And this goes for both male and female fertility. It will support your body, of course, from a holistic perspective rather than using that over-the-counter drug. I really encourage you to look into that. Now, everyone wants to know about supplements. There are research-proven supplements that have been shown to support sperm health. CoQ10 is a big one. CoQ10 is an antioxidant that you can take to help promote sperm health. I will say with CoQ10, it's really important to find a quality CoQ10 supplement. They are not all created equal. Other vitamins that have been research proven to support sperm health are vitamin D, vitamin C, and then of course a general multivitamin to support overall wellness. One note on vitamin D: it is important to have your vitamin D levels tested before you just go supplementing with vitamin D, which you can get over the counter. Everybody's levels are different, and I always encourage clients to have their vitamin D tested before you supplement so that you don't over supplement. Yes, you can get vitamin D from the sun, but in general, we are all pretty much vitamin D deficient. So you can expect that vitamin D would help, but you want to get that tested so that you know how much to supplement with. In the Fertility Jess community on Instagram, I had the pleasure of connecting with Kevin, who is a listener of the Her Fertility Podcast, and he wanted to share his story and his experience with infertility because he found that it was a pretty lonely road going through infertility with his wife and not having any male support. So he agreed to record part of his experience with me, which I will share with you now. And my hope for you is that in hearing Kevin's story, you can feel some connection and not so alone on your male infertility journey if that's the path that you find. So take a listen to his story.
Our journey started when we got married in 2020, so it's been a while. It really has surprised me how long it's taken us to get to this point. We ended up getting pregnant in 2022. We sadly lost that one to a miscarriage. It was right around the 6-week mark. I think that the miscarriage affected me more than it actually affected my wife. I hung on to it because I was so excited that I was going to be a dad. And it actually affected the way that I was sleeping and how much sleep I was getting for probably about 6 months. There's not a lot of support out there for males. I wish there was more. I also wish I would have done a lot of things sooner. I think we both thought that we were pretty normal. I think it's crazy how long it took us to get me tested, which is something that I wish I would have done years ago in this journey.
Yeah.
My mobility was low. My morphology was not there. And it was kind of a shock to me to see. I was really surprised at just how much lifestyle can affect your fertility health. It's food, it's your job, it's everything, even down to laundry detergent and deodorants and stuff like that. We both want to be parents more than anything in the world.
I am so honored that Kevin was so brave to share his story with us on the Her Fertility Podcast. And if you are looking for connection, please reach out to me at Fertility Jess on Instagram. I would love to hear your story and to support you in any way that I can on your fertility journey. We are not done with this male fertility conversation, and I cannot wait to bring you more. If you are struggling with infertility, you've probably tried to find support from family and friends, but they just don't get the depth of your problems. That's why I created the Fertility Support Circle. The circle meets monthly for free, where you'll connect virtually with women who are also navigating their fertility journey. If the monthly call is not enough, I also created a Fertility Support Circle membership to give you professional support at a fraction of the cost of private fertility doula sessions. The Circle membership gives you weekly support, including live sessions with me each week inside the member-only portal and access to a community of women who understand. If you're ready for support, please send me a DM on Instagram at FertilityJess. That's FertilityJess, and I'll send you the information.